Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's see what happens.
Your friend looks like.
Oh my god.
Hey! You're not getting me one.
Wow, like you're such a good friend.
Okay, cheers.
Hey,
Micah?
Mike, where are you going,
A
dude?
shot for...
Wait, come here. A shot for a failed proposal.
Failed proposal.
Yeesh. Wow. I mean, maybe Kwame is like able to, because you could make a joke about that, but given what we've seen, and also given how new their friendship, post-pod relationship is, that's a huge risk. I'm pretty sure she is intoxicated. Maybe all of them are. But, wow. The uncharitable conceptualization is, okay, I don't know about her, obviously, but people who come across as superior, as better than, as know-it-alls, or as above it all, they don't care about other people, they don't need other people. Not always, but often this is an indication that the person is the direct opposite. They are deeply dependent, they are deeply insecure, they hate themselves. Some of these people have such a pathology that they don't even have a self to hate. They don't even know who they are. They're completely empty. They feel empty. They're not empty, but they feel empty. And they have a lifetime of using a defense of what we might call narcissistic supply. There's other versions of this where the individual is just trying to cut themselves off from other people because they want to avoid it. And they're trying to convince themselves minute by minute that they're not empty or they're not inferior by focusing internally on every reason why they're better than other people because they're trying to reassure themselves. They might even engage in behaviors to help that. Maybe they work really hard at a particular skill or job, or they make sure that they earn enough money so they can buy the nice car and take a picture on Instagram, or they work out a lot, or whatever. So that's all internal, and that doesn't harm other people. It pushes them away from other people, but it's not exploitative or mean to other people or putting other people down. I just want to emphasize that most of the defense and most of the active efforts to push back on the emptiness and the inferiority is happening internally. The fantasies they have, the plans, the behaviors, the motivations, it's a lot of internal. It's all day long, because for people that are further higher in the spectrum, it's a constant bashing of their ego that's happening, of just like, you're inferior, you're worthless. No. Yeah, it's constantly running on the treadmill trying to keep ahead of it, even though they're running in place. There are occasional moments where they will actually establish themselves as better than other people. And if you're around people like this, they will make you feel inferior. They will also seem to you as if they have the highest self-esteem possible. And because they are very good at convincing themselves. And the process I was saying earlier is largely unconscious. Sometimes it's not, but if you ask them and you hook them up to a lie detector test, which doesn't exist, but if you did, then you would find that they're telling the truth when they feel like they're superior to other people. And there's another method of trying to establish superiority to avoid the inferiority by making sure that everyone else understands, because if you can convince everyone that you're superior, it reassures yourself that you're superior, which reassures yourself that you're not inferior. So you will socially or through put downs or abuse will happen as well. So you might, in situations where you're feeling insecure, where you're feeling maybe rejected by Kwame, because there seems to be some of that happening right now. And particularly if you're intoxicated, your prefrontal cortex gets offline. It's a possibility that a lot of the behaviors that we've seen concerning between Irina and Micah have been while on the higher end of intoxication. There's no indication of that pattern, but it could be. It doesn't negate it. Of course, lots of people get intoxicated and don't do anything like this, but it could be that they know that they shouldn't be doing these. I don't know. It didn't look that way to me. It didn't look like they were intoxicated when they were in the pods, but I can't know. Anyway, so, yeah.
Hey!
You're not getting me one.
Wow, like you're such a good friend.
Okay, cheers.
Hey,
Micah?
Mike, where are you going,
A
dude?
shot for...
Wait, come here. A shot for a failed proposal.
Failed proposal. Whoa.
Yeah. 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 So, in my personal life, when I see behavior in this, not this specific behavior, but when you see something that's so of a particular line, it is helpful to me because when it's on the line, you don't know. You're like, am I just seeing this wrong? Or I want to push back on this, or I want to avoid that person because I think there's a problem, but I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it or I'm too sensitive. When someone just leapfrogs, just long jumps over the line so far and it's so obvious, I actually enjoy that. It can be awful in the moment, but it gives me a clear path forward. And maybe for Kwame, he's having one of those moments.
I saw it for a failed proposal.
Failed proposal. Whoa.
And good on Brett for immediately react like, what? And Kwame seems to be taking it in right now. And I just hope that Kwame doesn't take this to heart. I hope that Kwame's just like, oh, dodged a bullet.
Woo.
I'm just kidding.
I feel like I'm being transported back to middle school. That would happen a lot. It's been a long time. It was during the Reagan administration. It's all coming back. People would be passive aggressive. They would be hurtful in an obvious way, and they'd do it with a smile, and they would say, I'm just joking. And if that's your sense of humor, then yikes, or you lack the ability to understand, which is, that can be a deficit. She has no signs of someone who completely lacks social awareness. So she, to say that she's just ignorant of the fact that joke would be hurtful, I don't think that that's likely. It could be, it doesn't seem likely. So to say such a thing, and, at least for me watching, Kwame has Chelsea, and he seems like a confident, healthy guy. But when you really think about it, it just happened a few days ago, maybe 4 or 5 days ago, that he was totally in love with Micah and proposed, and that rejection and the way she rejected him. Remember how much he cried, right? He went through a lot. And that was healthy and normal and appropriate and commensurate with the situation, of course. And then for her so earlier, remember when Micah was saying, I felt bad. It meant a lot to me. Really? Yeah. I think you were maybe just saying that in the moment. You certainly aren't demonstrating. I mean, yeah. Imagine having no editor or no concern or no fear or worry in your soul as you say such a thing, as you just... Okay. So another possibility is tremendous privilege and spoiling. I don't know. But if you have had no consequences or pushback to your behavior and everyone just worships you for, I don't know, whatever reason, you could have arrested development from that too. It's an important element of development that you learn how other people are feeling. And in order to learn how other people are feeling, they have to exhibit that to you. They have to have consequences for your random behaviors when you're in middle school, and then you learn, oh, that is not okay. But yeah, just incredible. Now, I want to be clear. I've been saying this from the beginning. Do not bully them. Do not go to their DMs and yell at them. Do not participate in that online discussion. We can have our thoughts. In fact, if they were watching this, which I think happens a lot of the time from what I understand because they reach out to me, I will say to you, Micah, I have full confidence that if I got to know you, or if anyone got to know you, as the people who know you, they know that you have a heart and that you're a good person and that you have a good... Now, there's a possibility, but that's the likely scenario. That's what I would have optimism for. That's what I would take a guess on. I would put money down that Micah absolutely does have the capacity for empathy and care and compassion and taking care of other people. And I have been with many people who exhibited the lack of that, but underneath a lot of defenses. There was that, so I would assume that that's there. And yet, some people have defenses and reasons and traumas for being hurtful in a very purposeful way. That happens. All of us do that. All of us have been purposely hurtful to various people in our lives. When we're stressed out, when we're in conflict, when we're hurt, it happens. Hurt people. And we've all been hurt, and we've all been a hurt person who is a hurt person. So there's not some weird, and she's not some alien from outer space. We're seeing a side of her or a snippet of her behavior that seems to indicate that maybe this is a pattern, but we don't know. I feel bad for Kwame. I feel bad for my fellow Seattleites who might be associated with this. So I talk about shame. There's a lot of talk about shame in my field, and often I dislike the discourse when it comes. There's a lot of good discourse around shame in my field, but there's this element of it that I don't like, where people will basically indicate that there's no reason to ever be ashamed of yourself, that shame is always bad. And that is not the way I see it. There's a reason why we evolved to have shame. I would contend that we did evolve shame for a reason. As we were evolving over time, it was important for us to get along with other people. And when we are harmful to other people and people yell at us or reject us, we will feel ashamed as a way of trying to motivate us not to do that again. Because if we get along with other people and we have pro-social behaviors, then that is good for our survival as a species. So shame has a purpose. The problem is, in our contemporary society, shame is way over applied. Someone will not have the body that is considered to be the ideal, and they will walk around in a constant state of shame. That is not what shame was supposed to be used for. It's supposed to be used for situations like this, where you are purposely hurtful and you go, oh, and you cringe and you have that feeling like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, so when you are being purposely hurtful and you say something, Kwame, is bawling his eyes out. He's just devastated, as anyone would be. And she just is like, there's so many other references she could have made. I think she was legitimately trying to bond with him in this moment, is my guess, because that was the whole movement. That's where they were all headed. She was trying to, I don't know, I don't want to say this, but it seemed like she was trying to weasel her way between Kwame and Chelsea. It just seems absurd to make such an accusation of an adult woman, but it kind of looks that way, right? Or I don't know. But I think she was trying to, I bet you anything, who knows? Here's just a hypothesis. She sits down, and because that was the whole movement, like shots and let's, and touching and back of the head, and she's really trying to, and then she might, so here's the dialogue. She's feeling rejected from him, so she has some aggression towards him. So she has an impulse to put him down, to get him back. She also has an impulse that she wants to bond with him, and she wants to remind him, hey, you proposed, you were in love with me. So she's taking a shortcut, in this really obnoxious way of trying to remind him, hey, remember, you love me, and I want you to remember that so that you can love me again, or be at least attracted to me or moving towards me. And again, this is a total shot in the dark, total speculation. She throws out that joke of like, here's to failed marriages or proposals, and she's hoping that he'll be like, yeah, I was really in love with you. I mean, that's the fantasy in her mind. Of course, when you're 13, you have various different fantasies like that are not reflective of reality. And so she says it, and then Brett and Kwame have a very appropriate reaction of, you can just hear Brett's like, oh, you can just feel that gut punch. And Kwame is going, what? And probably had an impulse to say something, but thinks better of it and walked away. Very healthy of him, by the way. And then I think now she feels ashamed. Maybe for the first time that now, maybe she feels shame all the time. I don't know. But let's see how she manages this.
Mike, where are you going, dude?
Wait, come here. I shot for a failed proposal.
The other element of it is they're all standing, Kwame and Brett are having a moment, right? And so they keep trying to insert themselves. They say shots, and then Kwame and Brett are going along with it. And then she sits down. They're having conversations. Hey, look at me. I don't know. If it was someone else, I wouldn't be thinking that, but it's just the whole package. Yeah, so,
Failed proposal. Whoa.
I think even Irina is thinking, yeesh, I think you went a little far there, Micah. Yeah, because I don't know. I'm given Irina's behavior. So I know that there's some talk as to who's the ringleader. Is it Micah or is that Irina? And I don't know if even that's a viable inquiry. That I think implies somehow that one person is a henchman to the other. I don't know. It could be, but there's evidence that either one of them is the ringleader, and there's evidence that they both are the ringleader.
Woo.
I'm just kidding.
He's salty.
Kwame, come here.
Okay, so Irina was just in the midst of taking her shots and had yet to exhibit her reaction, and she is having that, I don't know how to label this, people will call it the mean girl reaction, I suppose. So that just happened.
Woo.
I'm just kidding.
He's salty.
Kwame, come here.
It's one thing to make the joke, which is awful. It's another thing to, upon seeing his reaction, to laugh hysterically about that. I don't know their personalities. I have no idea. But it definitely shows callousness, cruelty, lack of empathy. 100%. I don't know if I've ever said that with as much confidence in this moment. It's behavior. I don't know if it's indicative of personality. I'm just saying that behavior is cruel, callous, and lacks empathy. Okay, well, I want to remind everyone not to use YouTube as a replacement for therapy. If you need a therapist, get one. You deserve it. And take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really do.